here live at reInvent, and we've got a really interesting segment going on here with Deloitte. But let's do some intros to the panel over here. My name is Jillian Ford, and I'm a startup solutions architect. Got my amazing co-host, A.M. Grabelny.
Wow. Yes. I only had to pay Jillian $50 to say that. Very cheap and worth it. I'm A.M. Grabelny, I'm developer advocate here for Game Day and one of your hosts for AWS On Air. And we've got some friends from Deloitte. Yes. Please introduce yourselves. Donovan, go first.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the opportunity. Donovan Spronk, based out of Prague, Czech Republic.
That's awesome.
Leading AI and data for Deloitte out there, yeah.
Right.
Well, hey everyone, I'm Dominque France. I'm actually not French, headquartered in your headquarters in Seattle. I lead our Deloitte AWS Sustainability Global Portfolio.
Right.
Very cool opportunities.
Yeah. And it's so fascinating because a lot of people think Deloitte and they know of like consulting, but what's so cool is that when we were talking is that Deloitte's involved in a lot of really interesting sustainability projects. So can you tell us about what you've recently been doing?
Oh, I'd love to, although we only have 7.5 minutes left. So I'll give you a tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
We've got a portfolio of over 30 solutions. We are building a path to net zero for our clients.
Yeah.
Essentially, we help our clients figure out, what should they do, where will they make the biggest climate impact, and how do they manage that progress. And that also interconnects then with what we're calling a green migration. We're doing that hand in hand with AWS, of course. And frankly, when you go into the greenest migration solution, and how do you get there?
Yeah.
But then how do you build and maintain a scalable solution that is ultimately sustainable?
Yeah.
People tend to think, oh, well, we'll just throw things over the transom, put it in the cloud, but then the cloud's not going to get so green. So between the sustainable architecture framework that AWS has and a number of our solutions to help you get from status quo to green and to stay there, and how you actually get carbon credits associated with that, and actually offset your investments. That's part of what we're doing. And then we have a variety of pillars in between that actually tick and tie between the two. Not least of which is something around, we do the climate piece, the sustainable piece, and of course equity. And we're here to tell you about some of the equity plays that we're doing.
Very interesting. I mean, we've been talking with a lot of sustainability partners with AWS, and one of the things that's really stuck out to me about all of the solutions is it's so difficult to track carbon emissions, right? Literally, we can't see them, number one, and politically, philosophically, it's a lot of self-reporting. It's a lot of how do we actually measure what we're producing? So it sounds like you're here to help with some of that.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. And I think integrity becomes a really critical component of how you establish those measures. And we're working with some other agencies that are carbon credit standards and frameworks that are not yet in existence. Because one of the things that we believe strongly in is we're not about greenwashing. What we really need to do is do things in a very transparent way that is with great integrity and standardizes across the industry and globally. And when you have an organization situation like Deloitte and AWS, two of our, the largest organizations with such global influence, we have both a duty and the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. I love it.
And Donovan, I guess as we were talking earlier, you were telling us how quickly your team built a solution for an NGO. So can you share us more about that?
Sure. So, yeah, it's something that's quite dear to our hearts, something we're quite proud of, but really not with a sustainable mindset at all. It was just kind of a knee-jerk reaction to when the war broke out. Been based in the Czech Republic, which borders Slovakia, bordering Ukraine, together with our colleagues even in Poland, which borders the Ukraine. We got a call on the Friday, the day after the war broke out, from an NGO saying, we need help. So we were like, yeah, sure, we'll grab phones, we'll help. But we thought, how can we do things better? Reached out to our friends at AWS, and using Amazon Connect at the core, we spun up a product, bolting on like a ton of language models, and spun up a call center that actually aided 12 NGOs within that first week in being able to help find refugees aid through various volunteer services and NGOs. And it's actually quite a cool story because so I got the phone call on Saturday evening. By Monday morning, we had a working prototype. Amazing. By Monday afternoon, we rolled out to the first NGO, and by Wednesday, we rolled out to 12 NGOs. And of course, they were super scared. Like, how do we do this? we're NGOs, right? We don't know AWS, we don't know Deloitte. Like, this is completely new for us, and they just took to it like, ducked us to water. And basically, we ended up helping probably almost 600,000 people through that platform. I think at the peak, we were fielding 10,000 calls a day.
Wow.
We had AI voice bots actually phoning refugees, making sure they were receiving aid, making sure they were receiving accommodation, and so forth and so forth. And it just scaled out to 8 countries in Europe, just supporting refugees across Europe.
Wow.
Find the aid that they needed. Yeah.
Incredible.
It's
incredible.
called IRENA, which I think if you can tell them a little bit about the name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's an acronym which stands for refugee, assistance and all the rest. But IRENA is actually a common name from that part of the world. And in order to make it really tangible and real to people, is we had a lady's face, and as the hotline numbers sort of went out, this lady's face was attached to it, which made it quite real. And some of the commentary we got back from Ukrainians and even Russian folk phoning these lines was that they really felt they were actually embracing a real human on the other side. Meanwhile, this was just AI that they were interfacing with. So really, really a special program.
Something, if I may, real quick, is you oftentimes think, oh, when you do good, everyone wants to do good and you do good together. Well, no, that is not the case. This was a war. And what was also being sabotaged at the same time was all the hotlines.
Yeah.
So, we had to keep changing out the numbers. It was insane.
Wow.
Yeah, we actually sort of developed some features around blacklisting. So we found that as these numbers were going up and people were finding refuge through these helplines, people started to flood these lines. We don't know if it was sabotage at the time or what it might have been. But we actually, if you look at the statistics in the month of September, as an example, 30% of the incoming calls were spam or bots or some form of sabotage. We were able to completely blacklist that out, cut out the spam, cut out the noise. I think we reduced the workload. The average volunteer's time on the call was reduced an hour, 30 minutes a day, just by taking the spam and the noise out of the day-to-day. It just really supported on so many levels.
Amazing. So for this actual solution that you've built, I know it's very specific to this specific problem, but can it be extended to other different types of maybe, I guess, like issues that come across in the world?
Oh, 100%. I mean, think about the situation here in the United States with all our displaced immigrants.
Yes.
Yeah? And the ability to be able to connect with isolated individuals, and just think about the human rights associated with that. So that's just one immediate example, but think of every natural disaster around the world. We've got floods, fires, earthquakes, hurricanes. People are displaced constantly,
right?
But it never is all that predictable. And the ability to stand it up so quickly, now we have a platform that can spin up instantly, and it can, go back down again.
And to adapt to active impediments, right?
100%.
Active and
Absolutely, yeah.
And as you were saying, purposeful impediments, right? To try and take these things down. That's incredible. To have that agility. Just speaks volumes to your team's capabilities, I'm sure.
And we were talking very quickly, as an example, in our situation when the war broke out, you had a ton of people volunteering their time.
Yes.
Right, so in the beginning, the first 30 days, you had a ton of people connecting in through these platforms, providing aid. Over the first 30 days, we automated almost 80% of the calls using AI and just basic workflow in Amazon Connect. And we were able to then start shifting some of the manual volunteering capability to other areas to support the refugees on a more tangible level. So yeah, absolutely scalable, days. We're an agile firm, right? So
yes, well, Deloitte does do that. We can be agile. I know we're a large firm, and large firms are not typically synonymous with being agile, but I think we've just demonstrated. Yeah, we sure can.
Agreed, for sure.
I mean, this is so inspiring. I bet there's so many other people who are inspired, and there's maybe other use cases they want to be able to implement this. So where's the best place someone can be able to learn more and contact your team?
AWS Sustainability at Deloitte.com.
Love it.
That's easy.
Very simple, very easy to remember. Reach out. But for now, we have to move on to our next segment. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. And incredible stories. We will be right back with more from AWS On Air. Stay tuned.